evening and good to have you with us on this edition of The Last Word. Now, before we go on to the day's biggest debate and the biggest talking point, here is a story that we at Mirror Now believe you must know. Here is a story that's actually gotten overshadowed because of the whole prime time drama regarding P. Chidambaram. The demolition of the Ravidas temple in a forest area in South Delhi's Tughlakabad on August 10th has actually led to a massive protest. This demolition, viewers, was based on Supreme Court's order. But the protests that were held yesterday in the national capital turned violent. Thousands of Dalits trooped into Delhi from states of Punjab, Rajasthan, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh. They held a peaceful protest at the Ram Leela Maidan through the day. But in the evening, some of these protesters got out onto the streets and said that they are going to march to the site where the temple once stood. The protesters demanded rebuilding of the temple by the center or handing over the plot to the community to rebuild this temple. Now, what really happened after that is that things went out of control. And many say this happened when Dalit leader and Bhim Army Chief Chandrasekhar Azad and his supporters tried to reach the demolition site last evening. At about 7:30 p.m., the mob gathered at Ravidas Marg, turned unruly, became violent. Bhim Army Chief and about 90 others were then arrested. As per the FIR filed by the Delhi police, the mob carried lathis, dandas and sticks in protest. They pelted stones, attacked policemen and damaged the cars and vehicles that were parked on the streets. The protest caused massive traffic jam in several parts of the national capital, and that is when people on a large scale were detained, including Chandrasekhar Azad. They've all now been sent to 14 days of judicial custody by a special temporary court that had to be set up at the Kalkaji police station. And can you imagine all of this unfolded on the streets of our national capital last evening? Here is a report Alok filed.
A day after several police personnel injured and also the protesters who were protesting against the demolition of Ravidas temple in Tughlakabad area, Delhi police arrested 96 persons that include the chief of Bhim Army Sena, Chandrasekhar Azad. All those 96 persons in fact produced before the court, from where they were sent to the judicial custody. And in fact this incident happened yesterday in the evening when there were several protesters gathered at Tughlakabad area where the temple, Ravidas temple, was demolished on August 10, and they wanted that the temple to be built again at the same site. But remember, this temple was demolished on the direction of the Supreme Court by the Delhi Development Authority because this temple was built on the land of Delhi Development Authority. Now the police says that they are still investigating the case because there were several persons who were allegedly involved into the vandalism at that moment in time when they were protesting right outside the demolition site. And in fact there was not only vandalism, there were vehicles, private vehicles and also the government vehicles were also set up on fires. There are few persons were also injured. So police says that they have collected several CCTV footages and also the mobile footage from that particular area, and trying to ascertain the identity of the people who were involved into the vandalism. But as of now, 96 persons were arrested and they are all sent to the jail. With video journalist Yogesh, I am Alok reporting for Mirror Now, Delhi.
In fact, as the row intensified, the Delhi Assembly resolved to construct a temple at the same site and said that only, of course, after the center allots them the land. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal was quick to jump and politicize this whole issue. He questioned the center, he questioned the Delhi Development Authority and the Delhi Lieutenant Governor for calling this piece of land illegal and for actually handling the issue in such a way that it led to demolishing of the Ravidas temple. Kejriwal said that a review plea must be filed in this case And he said that the Delhi government will reconstruct the temple at the same site.
केस कोर्ट्स में चल रहा था तो केंद्र सरकार और डीडीए ने इस केस का सुप्रीम कोर्ट और हाई कोर्ट में क्यों विरोध किया, ये हमें समझ नहीं आ रहा। अगर केंद्र सरकार और डीडीए इसका विरोध ना करते और जो रविदास समिति थी उनका साथ देते और कोर्ट में कह देते कि हम उनको ज़मीन देने के लिए तैयार हैं, तो आज ये नौबत ना आती मंदिर टूटने की। लेकिन मैं चाहता हूं कि इसके ऊपर किसी किस्म की राजनीति नहीं होनी चाहिए। सभी दलों को मिलकर अब कोशिश करनी चाहिए कि मंदिर वहीं बनेगा और एक भव्य मंदिर बनेगा।
Mandir wahi banega are words that now Aam Aadmi Party chief Arvind Kejriwal is using in election season. But let us tell you about what this case is and how it reached the Supreme Court. The genesis of this controversy rests in a 33-year-long battle, long legal battle, fought between the Delhi Development Authority and the Guru Ravidas Jayanti Samaro Samiti. Now, according to the documents submitted by the Samiti, the overall premises consist of an area roughly about 12,350 square yards, having 20 rooms, a hall and 2 samadhis. The matter reached the court first in 1986 when the Samiti filed a writ petition against the DDA and the High Court passed a status quo order on any further construction. Then on November 5th, 1992, the DDA undertook a demolition drive to raze some of the unauthorized buildings in these premises. After a series of arguments and counter-arguments, in November 2018, a verdict was given that was later held by the Supreme Court, upheld by the Supreme Court, that the Samiti has not been able to prove via documentation that they own this land. It accepted DDA's argument that the land was acquired and held that the Samiti is clearly not the owner. After the land was taken over by the central government, it transferred it to DDA, and hence DDA is now its rightful owner. On the basis of this, the next hearing, which was on August 10th, before that, the Delhi Development Authority was told by the Supreme Court that if the Samiti is not vacating the premises, then go ahead and remove the temple. And so on August 10th, this temple was demolished. And after that, you've seen politics play out. The only thing that we want politicians to note is what the Supreme Court said. And the Supreme Court, while passing the order for removal of the temple from that place, said, do not politicize this issue. Don't add any political color to a decision that has been taken by the Supreme Court. But the Aam Aadmi Party has completely ignored that. Delhi government has jumped on this. Of course, those leaders who seek to make and gain political points on behalf of the Dalits have already resorted to violence, have now been arrested. People need to understand that religion, caste are not issues that should matter anymore to the voters in 2019. Mandir Wahi Banega is an age-old script to get votes. It's disappointing that Arvind Kejriwal seems to be resorting to that, just like Chandrasekhar Azad is. Let's move on to the big debate for tonight. And of course, that's the arrest of P. Chidambaram. And let's tell you what transpired in the court today. In the court, when CBI presented P. Chidambaram seeking his custody for 5 days, presenting the arguments, the court agreed and said, yes, you can have his custody till 26th of August. The court said allegations against Chidambaram are serious, that the money trail needs to be ascertained in this specific case, that the enormity of the money involved requires an in-depth investigation. Investigation needs to be brought to a logical end, and hence the court believes custodial interrogation will be useful at this point. Now, if this is what the court believes, just 2 days after a Delhi court rejected P. Chidambaram's anticipatory bail, then does the argument hold value anymore that all of this is just a political vendetta, that the CBI is only acting at the behest of the Modi government? Isn't it just a procedure? Isn't the CBI simply following the law? That's the big debate tonight. Valid action or political vendetta? And these are the questions I'm asking. Big debate. But before I go across to our panelists, Let's first go across to Mr. Hegde, who's joining me right now. Mr. Sanjay Hegde, good evening to you. There's a big debate that's raging on right now about CBI's actions in the last 48 hours and the need to arrest Chidambaram. But he's been arrested, he's been sent to CBI custody. What's your own legal view? What's your legal sense on this issue?
It's always the investigator's call as to whether to pick up an accused or not. But in this case, where anticipatory bail had been considered for such a long time, and the decision had just come in a couple of days ago, and the accused had moved a superior court, preempting the superior court from the superior court, which in this case is the Supreme Court, preempting it from considering the anticipatory bail at all, shows that the investigating agency was in a tearing hurry. Now, what could be the result of this hurry? It's not as if that if you have custodial interrogation of this particular suspect, that you could resort to the normal third degree which custodial interrogation entails. That's just simply not going to happen. It's also not going to happen that somebody with a trained lawyer's mind like and a fine lawyer's mind like Mr. Chidambaram could be put off by confronting him with the other accused or the witnesses. This is definitely a call taken not only at the investigation level, that the moment that there was no protection from the courts, Mr. Chidambaram had to be picked up. I don't think that this was the investigator's call alone. Is it vendetta? Is it something which is a tit for tat? Because one must remember that there were times that Mr. Chidambaram was Home Minister and the current Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, was being investigated by the CBI at the same point of time, and there they had custody, they had also a certain amount of prison time as well. You see, this country normally stays away from the vendetta of investigation, unlike our neighbors across the border. There in Pakistan, you see that no sooner that a prime minister loses office, that he almost invariably ends up in jail. Asif Ali Zardari, who was president, was in jail for nearly 11 years. Nawaz Sharif right now is in jail. Benazir Bhutto spent time there. I don't like this kind of using of the courts for your political battles.
Fair enough, Mr. Hegde, but let's focus on the challenge for CBI from here on, or any such case, where the allegation is that favors were granted by P. Chidambaram as a finance minister to companies that wanted foreign investment, and that these companies in turn paid kickbacks to his son. Now, how difficult is it going to be for the CBI or ED to prove such a quid pro quo?
No, forget the profile of it. The INX case depends on the testimony of those paragons of virtue, Peter Mukherjee and Indrani Mukherjee, who are in jail for murder. They have turned, Indrani Mukherjee, I believe, has turned a prover. How credible is that evidence? That's one thing. Number two, you must remember, Tanvi, that Karti Chidambaram is a major himself. If you go around all the houses in Delhi, especially the so-called Lutyens and the high-profile houses, half the parents really do not know what their adult children are up to. How do you establish the further link, except for the fact that Karti is Mr. P. Chidambaram's son, that Mr. Chidambaram knew of it, and that as a consequence, the money trail ties in with Chidambaram? I think that still is a tall ask.
All right, Mr. Hegde, that's a little difficult for any layman to believe, but I presume that these such kind of legal arguments do work in the court of law, where it's about the law itself, and which is why I asked that question. Let's also say good evening to Gaurang Kant, lawyer with the Supreme Court, Abdul Razak Khan, political analyst, Vikas Gupta, also a lawyer, and Rajiv Pandey, leader of the BJP. Let me go to Gaurang Kant also on the same question, Gaurang, that I was asking Sanjay Hegde about just how difficult is the task going to be. And, you know, in this case, it's Chidambaram and son for INX Media, but there's also an Aircel Maxis case, there's also an Airbus case, and how difficult is it for agencies to prove such quid pro quo and such kickbacks when such high-profile names are involved?
Well, I'm very surprised to hear the statement which has actually come from my friend Mr. Hegde. To say that CBI was in a tearing hurry to arrest Mr. Chidambaram is absolutely incorrect, because we have to understand that the case has been lodged since 2017. Mr. Chidambaram has been enjoying the stay which has been granted, the protection which has been granted by the Delhi High Court. He himself yesterday at the press conference has made it very clear that I have been given the protection for the last 13 to 15 months. This is a statement made by him, not by me. The order of the Delhi High Court was reserved since January of 2019, and now the judgment has actually come. All this while, Mr. Chidambaram has been enjoying the protection which has been given. CBI was in no tearing hurry to arrest him. It is only once Mr. Chidambaram has failed to seek any sort of protection from the court that he has been arrested, which I think for any investigating agency is something which is rightful. They have waited for the law to take its own course. They have followed the due process of law. And finally, when Mr. Chidambaram has failed to procure any kind of protection from the court, he has been arrested. So there's no question of any tearing hurry as far as the CBI is concerned. Then to allege that, it is a political vendetta because, the current Home Minister was arrested. Let me make it very clear that the current Home Minister had surrendered. He had gone through the test of law. He has come out clean in those cases. Let Mr. Chidambaram do the same thing. The conduct of Mr. Chidambaram doesn't inspire any sort of confidence in the manner in which he had actually conducted the press conference at the AICC headquarters, which actually also talks about the political, affiliation or the political support which he has got from the Congress party and many other leaders in the Congress, and in the manner in which he has been arrested, the way the CBI officials had to jump over the wall and the door of Mr. Chidambaram's house. I don't think so that really inspires any sort of confidence in the fact that he was cooperating with the investigating agency. It only reflects that he had no intentions to surrender before the investigating agency. He had no intentions of cooperating with them, and that is exactly what the investigating agency has done.
Mr. Gaurang,
let us not forget
let's be serious
the
about
judgment,
what happened last
the
evening.
allegations which are there in the judgment, which talks about the entire issue being preposterous as far as political vendetta
Frankly,
is concerned.
I don't want to spend too much time on the drama that unfolded last
the judgment
evening.
itself talks about Mr.
Mr.
Chidambaram
Gaurang,
as a
you have to let
kingpin in
other
this
people
matter.
talk. I heard you out. The fact of the matter is, it's a little difficult to also believe that the CBI at any given point did not know where P. Chidambaram was, that he actually was absconding or missing. It's difficult to believe that our CBI doesn't keep tabs on big high-profile accused like P. Chidambaram. Similarly, it's difficult to believe that he would have run away if they had not scaled those walls and forcefully entered. I think both sides were milking primetime drama last evening for their own, to build their own narratives. Now that it's done, let's get to the actual serious part, which is the case itself, which are the serious allegations that have been made, and what needs to be done from here on. Abdul Razak, it's difficult to really buy the argument of political vendetta where two, not one, two different courts and two different judges have come out and said, yes, these allegations are serious. Yes, we believe that, CBI should get his custody to interrogate him. It was when the anticipatory bail got rejected, and today when the custody was given to CBI, clearly both the two judges believed that this was the right way to go forward.
Tanvi, first of all, the judges are not investigating officers. The judges decide upon what is presented to them by the investigating agencies. Now we have seen an episode last year of the CBI where late night the CBI headquarters was opened to send Director 1 and Director 2 on leave who were accusing each other. And it is a known fact that these agencies work in favor of the ruling government. First of all. Secondly, when it comes to P. Chidambaram's case, he was being cooperative of any time. Whenever he was called for investigation, he has presented himself. He was not absconding any time. So now that his bail application got cancelled, why was there a desperation from the BJP? Now let me bring to you They just gave them 2 hours to go ahead and surrender. From which rule or from where did they get this law book that you give only 2 hours for P. Chidambaram to go ahead and surrender? Apart from this, let me tell you, BJP has a habit of, projecting Congress as a bad party, as a corrupt party ahead of every elections. Let me remind you of Christian Michel ahead of the 5 state elections, how it was blown out of proportion, FAM, RG, AP, SG, what and all were we talking about. Now, after 2 days, Christian Michel is set to get bail. Apart from that, before this 2019 election, how was Robert Vadra's case? How did they blow these cases out of proportion? We should understand that Delhi, Haryana, Maharashtra are all crucial states for the BJP and it is going to polls. So this is just a kind of, theatric which is being presented in front of the country that Congress is bad. If P. Chidambaram was an accused and if you had proof and if you had money trail, why were the agencies sleeping all this while? Where is the charge sheet?
Okay.
Why did they not file the charge sheet?
Well,
I have many questions.
For them to file
it
a charge sheet,
only
they
on
need
the
to
Congress
first
leaders.
properly
The whole nation
interrogate
wants to know the starters,
one of the key characters
entrepreneurs,
in this
the youth.
case. Yes, okay, let's go one by one, point by point. For them to actually file the charge sheet, they should be able to actually interrogate one of the key characters
It was
in this
upon
entire
approval
case,
of the 6 government
which
secretaries,
is the
FIPB.
former finance minister, P. Chidambaram. Now, they've already interrogated his son. They've already questioned the others involved in this case, and they've now sought custody so that they can ask him questions. But Rajiv Pandey, please respond to this charge which is being made, because after all, at the end of the day, it's been over 5 years, you're in your second term, and you've still not seen significant action in cases like Robert Vadra. So does the BJP only raise these issues for election benefits?
Tanvi, first of all, I would like to say to Rajak Bhai that right now there is no election, sir. In last Modi ji's first government for 5 years, people said that it is being done at the end. It is not like the government is not. Government has given mandate to the agencies to use their free hand to catch these people, and that's why they could not do it, and it started happening in 2018-19. So everybody is saying it is going towards election. Right now there is no election, Abdul Razak ji, and I am telling you, this government will catch all the people who have looted this country. Now let us come to the debate on the Chidambaram's case. The issue is on 6th June 2018, Chidambaram ji was called for investigation. He was evasive. He knows fully well that he is carrying a tag. He is a senior counsel of Honorable Supreme Court of India. He is ex-Home Minister. He is ex-Finance Minister. He did not give any answer thereafter. They did not call because he was not cooperating. On 25th July 2018, he got protection from the Honorable High Court, which continued till few days back, when finally his anticipatory bail application was dismissed after looking at the case diary, after looking at all the developments and all the evidence collected by the investigating agencies. Now the last point, when he's saying, where's the charge sheet? Any lawyer will tell you until the whole story is complete, until everything is complete against the crime which an investigating agency is investigating, charge sheet cannot be filed against that person. Mr. Chidambaram, after he was not cooperating, and that's why the Honorable High Court at New Delhi and today the session court, the court which was hearing the police custody application, remand application of the CBI, has said that it requires, and the material given that has inspired confidence in the remand application, and that's why now he is in the custody of CBI.
Okay.
Saying that what they have done in these years, it doesn't make any sense because Chidambaram was not cooperating. So all these arguments are done before the court.
Okay.
All these arguments were done before the High Court, and it is done today. And day before yesterday, when I was in your show, I had said that Mr. P. Chidambaram is going to face this because the way he has behaved like a petty criminal, that he has run away and then suddenly appeared in the Congress headquarters. Congress ka haath choro ke saath poster was there. Congress haath.
Okay.
Because the problem is Congress cannot leave him because next in line it is Mr. Vadra. Tomorrow you can see these drama in the case of Vadra. He will also do all these dramas. Look, I am being victimized. Look, this victimize and other things. You did this with the Honorable
Mr.
President
Rajiv
and
Pandey, the
current
whole
Home
nation
Minister.
has been
He went to
waiting
jail for
with-
3 months.
The whole nation has been waiting now for over 5
Tanvi,
years for justice
can I
to be
just give a
done
quick
in
response?
the investigation linked to Robert Vadra. You all
Why-
sold this story
justice
about
takes time.
massive
Tanvi,
allegations of
Tanvi ji.
corruptions and favors for Robert Vadra.
Tanvi-
We are now well beyond 2014 elections,
Tanvi,
well
would you
beyond
allow me a quick
2019 elections.
response?
We are still waiting for that justice to be done. I'm sure
ji,
the people of this
Lalu
country will
Prasad
much welcome
Yadav
it when you
did-
begin
did
your action in the
corruption,
Robert
and
Vadra
now
case.
he's rotting in jail.
And that
Tanvi,
day
can I
you and
just
I
give a
will
You have
debate
to
this
remember,
again.
it takes time, but finally,
that day you and I will
one
debate
leader
this
from
again.
my state,
Now,
Lalu Prasad
let's-
Yadav, is now cooling his heels in Ranchi. So you have
Okay.
to see
Pandey ji.
that in the case of Lalu
Okay,
Prasad Yadav,
Vikas
also
Gupta
people were
hasn't
saying
spoken
that
yet.
Can I
I
take
need
a
to
quick
go
moment,
to
jail.
Mr.
with your
Gupta.
permission?
Chautala is in jail.
Mr. Gupta.
Everybody, all corrupt will go into jail.
Mr. Gupta,
Tanvi,
fact
with your
of the matter
permission, can I
is,
just rebut?
Abdul Razak, I'll come back to you in just a bit. Let Vikas Gupta make his opening comments. Vikas Gupta, what's your own sense?
I just wanted to rebut Rajiv Pandey ji.
Okay, but I will come back to you. Keep your points in mind and then you can rebut. But let Vikas Gupta also make his opening comments. Vikas Gupta, go ahead, please.
Tanvi, I'm not in the knowledge or, with the information that whether it's a vendetta politics or not. But there are certain questions that needs to be answered by the CBI. And let me just, I'm addressing Mr. Rajiv Pandey as well as the other co-panelist also, who was speaking in favor of the CBI and the government, that, this transaction pertains to the year 2007 and 8. And let me remind you that the FIR was registered way back in 2017. And at that time, Chidambaram had no protection from the court because the first time the interim protection came to him by way of an interim order by the Honorable High Court of Delhi was back in July 2018. So for good more than a year's time, the investigating agencies had the money trail, had all the emails, had all the documentary evidence, because here is a matter which is based only and only on documentary evidence. And the Chidambaram is no longer the finance minister and neither the Congress is in power. So the most important thing is that why couldn't CBI complete its investigation in those 2.5 years? The only clinching evidence on which the CBI is trying to base its case is on Indrani Mukherjee's confessional statement. And is she a trustworthy witness, considering the fact that she's a murderer of her own daughter and she's facing trial for that offense? So the only clinching piece of evidence on which CBI is trying to base its case is the confessional statement recorded in 164 of Indrani Mukherjee, because the entire evidence is a documentary evidence. And one more thing which Rajiv ji said,
Yes,
that
but
they want to first complete the investigation. Let me tell you, just give me 30 more seconds, Tanvi. Kartik Chidambaram was interrogated, and if the money trail was to be corroborated, they could have done it through Kartik Chidambaram. They could have filed a charge sheet, and if there was certain other material that would have come in by way of further investigation, they could have filed a supplementary charge sheet. And one more thing, I really don't understand what kind of a defense lawyer one can be, that you are evasive, you are not cooperating with investigating agency.
no, but
what do you want? You want to confirm to what the investigating agency says? Accused has all the right to refuse to answer to your question. It is
Yes,
your
but if
job
he has
as a
nothing to
prosecutor
hide,
to
if he has
prove
nothing
your
to
case,
hide, and if he's not, if he's nothing to hide, and if he's not done anything wrong, all he has to do is answer honestly, give the truth, and that's that. Why does he have to be evasive or non-cooperative as it
Tanvi,
is
who
being
will
presented?
determine it's a truth? If the investigating agency, if the answers to the investigating agency doesn't suit them, they say it's not truth. Who will determine it's a truth? It's not the investigating agency who's going to determine what truth is. Eventually, it will be decided by the courts.
Correct.
If the answer doesn't suit the questions or the expectations of the investigating agency, it can't be termed that you are evasive, you are being non-cooperative. This is a kind of terminology I've heard only in the last 10 years from the prosecutors.
Okay. Now, fact of the matter is, Mr. Vikas Gupta, you are saying it's just documentary evidence, but you're also admitting that there is also a testimony of Indrani Mukherjee, that she has actually given a statement going into the details of the meetings. The Indrani Mukherjee statement, even if we say for a minute, is fabricated, is falsified, because she herself is a murder accused and is perhaps looking for some kind of relief or favors there. Fact of the matter is that the CBI claims that they have invoices, that they have documentary evidence that backs Indrani's claims, that actually shows the payments, the whole money trail from the INX Media, from its companies, all the way to the companies that have been linked, and that documentary evidence is present, that have been linked to Karthi Chidambaram. So there is no denial in the movement of money that has happened here. Prima facie, what remains to be proven by the
documents are available with CBI since 2017.
Correct.
And
what
that is the basis
CBI now
of the
needs
FIR.
to prove is
that
if
those documents.
P. Chidambaram actually used his influence verbally or in written to get the FIPB agreements done for these for INX Media, because his son had been paid by INX Media. Now that is what has to be proven. Gaurang Kant, your view on that, and then Rajiv Pandey can come in.
Well, I'm very appalled and surprised that the kind of defense which has been put forth by Mr. Vikas Gupta, to the extent that he has literally given a clean sheet. According to him, the investigating agencies has got no right to investigate anybody. People can just go there, stand there and deny and refuse to cooperate. And the word cooperation and not participating is something which is alien to him. I think, I don't know what kind of world he lives in, but I think we should give that fair consideration to the investigating agencies as far as their independence is concerned. We should respect that the manner in which they want to conduct the investigation, that should be left to them. We should not be commenting about that. And as far as the case is concerned, there are observations which have come from the Delhi High Court. The judge has actually commented based on evidence. Let me be very clear in there that it is based entirely on the case diary which has been presented to him. It is based entirely on the evidence which has been put in front of him, where he has stated that there is a need for custodial integration. There's a need to track and see how the money trail is. There's a need to see if Mr. Chidambaram is the kingpin or not. We cannot lose sight of these observations, which are not just coming from the judge on his own, but is entirely based on the material and the substance which is in front of him, which is in the form of the evidence which has been collected by the investigating agency. Now to say that the case has been, committed way back in 2006-7 and the FIR is registered in 2017, that doesn't mean that the trail cannot be found or the investigating agency cannot really find out. Let us not lose sight of the Chara Ghotala. We know Lalu Yadav is cooling his heels. The crime took place long back. Let us not even forget about Sheena Bora. The crime took place long back. And we cannot equate both the cases, because both, even as far as Indrani's statement is concerned, she's been tried in a different case altogether. In this case, she's making a statement which has got no relevance to the other case. So I don't know what kind of benefit can actually be given to her. So we cannot really lose sight of the statement which is being recorded in front of the magistrate. And I'm sure Mr. Gupta knows about it. So there's an investigation which is going on. To come and say today that, we cannot conclude, we cannot do anything, and he should be left completely, free to walk away, is not a correct statement to make. If he is free, and if he has not done anything,
Mr. Gurang
and Mr.
really actually
Chidambaram is only
confirms what I
accused of
said,
corruption, he
Mr.
will walk
Gurang
free.
actually
He
confirms
will
what
come
I'm
out.
saying.
There's no question.
I'm saying it's
There's
all
no
purely
question that he will
documentary
not come
evidence.
out.
And the CBI had
just
all
Vikas
the
Gupta has a question for
investigation
Gaurang.
in 2017.
Yes, please repeat your question.
He confirms what I said earlier. Of course, he is also admitting the fact that these are all documentary evidence, and this money trail and these documentary evidence was available to CBI way back in 2017. And let me also remind him, as far as Indrani Mukherjee's statement is concerned, that is also subject to cross-examination.
The statement which has been given by Indrani Mukherjee, whereby she is actually giving new evidence,
he says, what does he mean by evasive or not participating?
Okay, gentlemen, if we talk over each other, we won't be able able to
which they
hear
have today.
either of
And
you
that is
out.
the reason why they have-
You
they
are
have
both
not been
lawyers.
able to-
doesn't mean
You're
cooperation.
both lawyers. I'm sure this
Let-
is
let
now not how you present your arguments in the courtroom. Let's give the same respect to this studio as well, so that the
Well,
viewers
at
can
times we do,
understand
but-
what you both are saying.
No, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so point
Yes.
made both by
The
Gaurang
Supreme Court
and by
time and
Mr.
again
Vikas
has
Go ahead,
said
Gupta.
Mr. Gupta, I'll hear you out and then I'll answer your
self-incrimination
question.
doesn't mean cooperation.
Yes, Vikas Gupta, finish your point.
Yeah, Tanvi, what I'm saying is, Apex Court has time and again has said that cooperation doesn't mean self-incrimination. Let me remind Mr. Gupta for that.
Okay, Gaurang Kant, your response to that, and then we are going across to our other two
Tanvi,
panelists.
Can I make my point?
Yes.
Well, absolutely. It doesn't mean that the person has to give. He cannot be evasive about the questions which are being put to him. The investigating agencies cannot be allowed to run into circles and not get any answers. And if they are not able to get any answers, custodial interrogation is something
Okay,
which
we are
they
going
will
now.
restore,
Now
you know,
we are
they
going
will
in
go back to their
circles. Let
fall
me
upon.
put this
And that's
simply.
exactly what
One
has
side
been
says
even
that
stated.
one side says the meaning of evasive is simply that he is answering your question, but you're not getting the answer that you like, and so you're calling him evasive. The other side is saying, well, he's simply not answering our
Absolutely,
questions
Tanvi.
and is avoiding it by giving different kinds of answers. Now, let's not go around in circles over it. These are the two sides to this point. Let's move on. Rajiv Pandey, you wanted to make a point before I go
Correct,
across to
Tanvi.
Abdul Razak. Rajiv
Yes,
Pandey,
absolutely.
please.
I was trying, Kant ji has said everything what I was supposed to say, but one thing I wish to add.
Okay.
No, Gupta ji is saying that if custodial interrogation is not required, why we have kept into our only books in our CRPC that custodial interrogation, in which case, if it is not applied in this case, then in which case custodial interrogation is required. Second thing, Indrani Mukherjee has already given 164 statement and CBI wants to confront them. If Indrani Banerjee says before CBI, when Chidambaram is also sitting, that on such and such date, with such and such person, I met you in your chamber, or I met you in some hotel, then at that time, everything will come clean. And that's the reason this confrontation is required, and that's why Mr. Chidambaram will be confronted with Indrani Mukherjee. Second thing, what Gupta ji is saying, all are documentary evidence. I completely agree with him. There are documentary evidence that how money have changed the hands. But any agency wants to make a foolproof case.
Okay.
Apart from the documentary evidence, if during these custodial interrogations, if they get some more evidence, you know, people like a person of having like P. Chidambaram, no agency will touch him without having foolproof case. Understand this. He is himself a top lawyer.
Yes.
Then he was a home minister. He was a finance minister. He's a top leader of a party. Just imagine, he is saying in 2017 it was done. You know, this vendetta politics would have been proved if FIR is lost today
Let me add
and
to that.
tomorrow he is picked up.
Let me
You know,
add
on
to this.
6th
Mr. Rajiv
June
Pandey, in fact,
2017,
Mr. Rajiv Pandey, let me add to this. Not only will any probe agency be extra prepared and extra careful when they are investigating somebody like P. Chidambaram, who, like you said, is a top lawyer. He's been the home minister, he's been the finance minister. It's a very, very sharp mind when it comes to economy as well. And obviously, they are going to go in with a case prepared. Not only that, Mr. Abdul Razak, please tell me, it's not just the INX Media case. There is a similar case with Aircel Maxis and approvals for foreign investment being given to Aircel Maxis at the same time, and same company making payments allegedly to Karthi Chidambaram's company.
Tanvi, can I add
There is
only one line?
allegations and an investigation going on in the Airbus deal. Please tell me, if it is simply political vendetta and fabricated cases, why will anybody sit and fabricate multiple cases if there is no wrong that has been done? Abdul Razak.
There is a separate department in the BJP under the leadership of Subramanian Swamiji who actually go ahead and dig graves to bring out something out of nothing. Let me tell you the 2G spectrum scam, which was milked to a maximum ahead of the 2014 elections. They said that this is the mother of all scams involving around 2 lakh crores. What happened? 21st December 2017, the Supreme Court gave a very clean chit saying all 18 accused are acquitted. because there was no evidence from the CBI. This is what happens when we are ahead of elections. These
Tanvi,
people bring in
I
case
will
after
not
case.
allow that. He
Now,
is
any
lying on your
decision
channel.
taken by
He is lying on
the
your
finance
channel.
minister
Supreme Court has not given
will
anybody clean
definitely
chit.
go ahead
Supreme
and
Court has
you
set
just
aside
go
all
ahead.
the allocation. Supreme Court has not given clean chit.
I'm talking about
Please,
the 2G spectrum
don't
scam
lie
case,
on
sir. The
on
CBI
national
court.
channel.
The CBI court. I'm sorry, I'm not
Yeah,
a
I'm
lawyer.
talking about the same case,
I
sir.
just say court.
Supreme Court has not
Don't
given
try to
clean chit,
mislead the
please.
viewers. Let us say the BJP used this as an election program, election campaign tool, went ahead and said this case involves 2 lakh crores. Congress has looted 2 lakh crores. This was what was said ahead of 2014. Now the Supreme Court on 21st December 2017, I'm not saying Supreme Court, I'm saying the court gave a clean chit. They said all the 18 accused are acquitted. Did they or did they not? I'm just talking facts. Maybe I misspelled Supreme Court to CBI Court.
Now you have corrected yourself. Thank
Because
you.
unfortunately often what happens is
Now,
that our
when would
agencies
you
are
like
unable
to
to
tell
prove
me
these
how to
cases
make 80 crores out of 50,000, Sanjay?
for
Tanvi, I
lack
would
of
like
evidence.
to ask Pandeyji how
Yes.
to make 80 crores out of 50,000. I would like to ask him how to make 80 crores out of 50,000.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, but I don't have time. We'll have this conversation another day on what went wrong with the 2G investigation and the prosecution and where this is going, even with the current cases of P. Chidambaram, and if we will actually see a strong prosecution charge sheet and evidence being presented in the court to prove these charges. Unfortunately, there are way too many high-profile corruption cases where investigation has begun, FIR has been filed, people have been arrested, but we are yet to see somebody powerful and big actually go behind bars on charges of corruption, barring maybe Lalu Prasad Yadav, which also came after years and years of back and forth. So yes, whether it's the Robert Vadra case, or whether it's the P. Chidambaram case, or whether it's the case where Ratul Puri is being investigated, or maybe at some point today they've begun the interrogation of Raj Thackeray if there is a link in the INX scam. If there is corruption, no matter how high up it goes, one would like to see that case come to a logical conclusion and not just be used for theatrics, for drama, and for political brownie points. We're completely out of time on this debate. I'm going to thank our panelists for joining us. We will, of course, keep a close track and keep getting you the updates in that story. But let's move on to the other big issue that plagues our country tonight. The big issue that we all should be talking about as well every single day. And that's the economy crisis, the slowdown in our economy, the SOS that is being sent from every single sector today to our government. Now, here is a twist. In an exclusive interview with the Times Network, India's Chief Economic Advisor, Krishnamurthy Subramanian, has called for a mindset change in the private sector. This is a very tough message coming in from India's CEA, who has the government's ear, to India Inc. And he's telling the private sector to refrain from the tendency to grab profit and to socialize losses in times of stress. Effectively, what he's saying is, if you enjoy the profits by yourself, don't come running to the government, don't come running to the taxpayer for help when the times get difficult. Effectively, he is telling India Inc. that while the government support is fine, don't come running to us like crying babies to saying, Papa meri madad karo, mujhe bachao. And this comment comes at a time the India Inc. is expecting a stimulus from the government. Take a listen.
This message of basically private sector cannot have a situation of private profits and socialized losses. I think that needs to basically move on. We need to move on. We are a market economy. In a market economy, assets do get reallocated when somebody doesn't, let's say, manage the asset very well. Reallocation needs to happen. There are sectors that basically go through sunrise and then have a sunset. and sunset sectors, basically there are, reallocation happens. These are important aspects. So the private sector also needs to recognize that, the mindset needs to change from basically, as whenever you actually are, let's say, having a difficulty, keep going, keep crying, basically running to Papa, to basically, saying, Papa bacha do mujhe, that needs to also change. I think that's an important mindset change.
Well, that comment has completely spooked India Inc. and the markets. The markets were down 1.5% today. And India Inc. is wondering if any help is actually going to come from the government at a time where the real estate sector, when the auto sector, when the FMCG sector is really struggling with its business. Let's add to that confusion. Here is what Nitin Gadkari, top union minister, said again in an exclusive conversation with the Times Network. He's the Minister of Transport and Highways, and he says that the centre has no specific deadline in mind for electric vehicles or even a ban on any diesel or petrol vehicles. Remember, he is the one who earlier said that by 2030, India will have 100% electric mobility. Not only to that, reacting to the recent economic slowdown in the auto industry, Nitin Gadkari said that the centre is trying its best to give a boost to the auto sector and has assured that Finance Minister will take measures to help the industry. Take a look.
ये बात जरूर है कि बहुत लोगों में गलत फहमियाँ हैं कि हमने कोई प्लान टाइम शेड्यूल बनाया और डीजल पर हम बैन करने वाले हैं। हम कोई बैन वगैरह करने वाला नहीं है।
पर जो ई-व्हीकल्स की डेडलाइन, क्योंकि नीति आयोग का भी ये सुझाव था।
ये डेडलाइन कोई नहीं है, ऐसी कोई डेडलाइन अभी तक लाई नहीं और लाने का विचार है। मैं ही ट्रांसपोर्ट मंत्री हूँ।
हाँ, इसीलिए मैं आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ।
ऐसी कोई डेडलाइन नहीं ला रहे। हाँ, एक बात जरूर है कि इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल को हम प्रोत्साहन दे रहे हैं। जैसे इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल का जीएसटी हमने 12% कर दिया।
सर, अब तो ऑटो इंडस्ट्री ये भी डिमांड कर रही है कि जो आम पेट्रोल और डीजल व्हीकल्स हैं उन पर भी कम होना चाहिए। ये आपको लगता है ये हो सकता है?
आज की ऑटो इंडस्ट्री की जो समस्या है उसमें ऐसा हुआ है कि जो ऑटो या कमर्शियल व्हीकल खरीदते उसको फाइनेंस मिलता है बैंकों से। कुछ बैंक करती थी, कुछ एनबीएफसी करती थी। अब प्रॉब्लम ये हुआ है कि एनबीएफसी काफ़ी अड़चन में आई है। वो फाइनेंस नहीं कर रही, बैंक भी फाइनेंस नहीं कर रही, तो उसके कारण भी एक सेल पर परिणाम हुआ है। तो सरकार बैंकिंग सेक्टर को, फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस को स्ट्रेंथन करके वो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा फाइनेंस करें। अगर वो फाइनेंस करेंगे तो फिर सेल में बढ़ोतरी होगी।
लेकिन जीएसटी में गुंजाइश नहीं है रिलीफ की।
इसका निर्णय तो फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री करती है और मुझे लगता है जीएसटी काउंसिल को इसका अधिकार है, पर इसके बारे में क्या करना है इसका निर्णय फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर सोच रहे हैं और निश्चित रूप से इसके बारे में जो भी कुछ सोल्यूशन है निकालने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं और ये अधिकार उनके क्षेत्र में आता है। पर ओवरऑल इस सेक्टर को फिर से ताकतवान बनाने के लिए हमारे तरफ से भी हम लोग कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि इनको मैक्सिमम किस प्रकार से सपोर्ट करें।
From here on, every single significant development as far as the economy is concerned by the government, by the industry, we will bring it to you as we constantly, closely monitor the situation in our country. For now, it's a wrap on this edition of The Last Word. Thank you for joining us.